Hey everyone, welcome back to more Ace Attorney. Sorry it's been a while, but I had a video ready and something happened. So I went and I saw my sound moving and everything, so I thought it was fine. I go ahead and I start editing the video and there's no sound from me talking, which was really weird because on the OBS it was like rippling up and down like it was picking up my voice. Anyway, it took me forever to figure it out, but it's fixed now. But for this last half of the trial, I'm gonna have to replay it all, so it's not gonna be fresh reaction or anything. However, the chapter is still going. So like the case hasn't been solved yet. There hasn't been like no big revelation or anything, so there's no big spoilers, I guess, for the chapter. So it's still ongoing. So I'm probably gonna breeze through this first for this episode, for this last half of the trial, but I didn't continue after that. So I had to like go. I even had to like go through it and like restart the entire episode because I didn't have the save anymore. So when I started the second half of the trial, so the whole situation. But I caught myself back up. I'm gonna go ahead and play through it, and I double checked everything is working. So we'll go ahead and get started. I just want to get out of the way. So unfortunately, not very first reaction, but nothing too crazy happened, I don't think. But we'll go ahead and start. Believe it's this one here. So you can see where I saved. But yeah, it was really unfortunate. But at least I'll get through it quickly. I think it took me like an hour and a half to get through it. But since I kind of know what's going on, maybe it won't take me as long. Okay. Dude, I can't believe that Adrian? No way, not cool. Not cool and collected Adrian Andrews. She's your manager. It would have been very easy for her to pull this off. The only person who had easy access to the knife you used at dinner was, well, her. So after the ceremony during the break, huh? I was sleeping like a log the entire time. See, she could have also easily planted that blood coverage button in your hakama. Because she was the one that came to wake me up. Then dude, you're saying it really was her? Yes, she is the real killer. She was the one who murdered Juan Corrida. But why? I thought she was buds with Juan. She has her own agenda. Her own agenda? What are you talking about? I'm sure you'll see by the time this trial's over. It'll be alright, I'll get you acquitted by the end of today. Get me a verdict that's refreshing like a spring breeze, okay, Mr. Lawyer Dude? Phoenix, you think her motive is related to Celeste Impax's missing suicide note, right? Yes. Miss Andrews depended on Miss Impax as her strength and reason to live. Then Miss Impax suddenly killed herself. It sounds like she left a suicide note and the person thought to have hidden it is Juan Corrida, the victim of this murder. That's why I think Miss Andrews got close with Mr. Corrida. All to get the suicide note back. Sounds plausible. What other thing bothers me? What? Who was it that first told us about the relationship? Better stated, Miss Andrews' dependency issues with regards to Miss Impax. It was Edgeworth. It looks like he's still the one in command of the ship. Don't let your guard down yet. Okay, we'll try. Court will now reconvene. Now then, Mr. Edgeworth, if you please. The prosecution calls the witness opponed by this court. It's Adrian Andrews, the person who discovered the crime in Mr. Juan Corrida's room. What is your occupation? I'm the manager of the defendant in this case, Matt Ungard.
I see. Now then. Before we begin, Your Honor, I have one request. Yeah, sure, what is it? I'm sure everyone in this room is wondering the same thing. I'd love to find out more about my relationship with the victim. After all, it was the topic of a certain weekly magazine recently. No, I have no idea what you mean. I've never even heard of a gossip land. If the judge was ever a prosecution witness, he'd do all my work for me. Anyway, I was wondering if you could please tell us about your relation to the victim. Yes, I was seeing Mr. Coretta. I was also aware of the rivalry that exists between Matt and Juan. This was a private matter between Juan and myself. So it was a fry and bait matter. Or was that a bait and fry? Reminds me of fishing. But I didn't kill him. No one is accusing you of that. I think there's someone who would beg to differ. I think we all understand your relationship with the victim now, Miss Andrews. Very well then. Witness, please testify to the court about what happened when you discovered the murder that had taken place. Okay. When I found the body. It's time for the show to start, so I went to get Matt from his room. After that, I went to Juan's room. And there was his dead body. I was in shock. What I saw was naturally the exact same scene as in the crime scene photo. I felt as though I was about to faint, so I poured myself a glass of juice. You poured yourself a glass of juice? Yes, sadly I didn't remember not to touch things at the scene of a crime. I disturbed the crime scene by moving this one thing. And that is when the fingerprints in the wine glass were made, Your Honor. I see. Well, Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Phoenix. She's one cool and collected customer, and she has all the brains to match. Yes, I know. In order to catch a person like her, you have to avoid head-on confrontations. You should disrupt her pacing. Disrupt her pacing? She's the type of woman who is easily thrown off by things inconsistent with her thinking. So you have to attack when she least expects it. The instant you let up on your offense is the instant this trial is over. Understand? Okay. And what was Mr. Ongar doing at the time? He was taking a nap. He was worn out from his mini performance as the Nickel Samurai during the ceremony. Mr. Ongar did say he was taking a nap. Then I guess you could say it could not have been taken out of his room, yes. Excuse me? It. What are you talking about? Right, I thought years of school would have taught you how to construct a sentence. Can't make a sensible sentence with a subject, then I'll make one for you. Watch. Did you, Miss Andrews, remove Mr. Ongar's knife from his room? No. Subject, verb, object. Right. Did you skip basic grammar? The witness may continue. And why did you do that? It's a friendly gesture. Juan was to make an appearance with the other heroes. So the show was supposed to be a show of friendship, huh? Is that the only reason? I beg your pardon. What are you implying? You had a certain goal in mind when you started to get close to him, correct? So perhaps you had more personal matter to discuss with the victim. Sorry, but I didn't have any such intentions in mind at the time. Can't get her to talk without a strong piece of evidence, I guess. Maybe we continue now. Witness, what did you see when you got at his room? You're in shock? What? Was I not supposed to be? Miss Andrews is a very calculating person. Despite how close they were, I doubt she had romantic feelings for Mr. Coretta. Anyone randomly stumbling upon a dead body would be in shock. Can't seriously expect that a young beauty like her would not be shocked. Somehow, I don't think beauty has anything to do with being shocked or not. I see. Okay. This is the photo you're referring to, correct? Yes, the one with the knife lodged in his chest. The guitar case was like this too. Yes, it was open and empty, of course. And then, what did you do next, witness? Okay. Juice. Yes, there was a bottle of tomato juice on the table, so I helped myself. But you didn't drink any of it, did you? Huh? There are no lip marks left on this wine glass to suggest that anyone drank from it. I wasn't feeling terribly great, so I set the glass down without drinking it. Miss Andrews, I would like to confirm with you one more time. When you discovered the dead body of Juan Corrida, you were in great shock. That's when you poured yourself the glass of juice, correct? And what of it? My mind really was a complete blank at the time. Mine was a complete blank. I didn't think that was possible for you. Aren't you rude today? I was so dazed that I made one careless mistake. That one thing. What one thing? Never mind. It's no big deal. What was she starting to say just now? Miss Andrews, convinced that, as you said, you made a mistake at the scene of the crime. What I really want to know is what this mistake was. Actually, so would I. I'm sorry. It's kind of embarrassing. When I set the glass down on the dresser, I accidentally knocked the flower vase over. Flower vase? Are you talking about the one on the floor in the crime scene in the crime photo? This mess of glass shards. It's originally on top of the dresser. When I bumped into it with my elbow, it fell onto the guitar case. Why did you withhold such an important piece of information? I'm sorry. I thought that since the crime scene was already in disarray, that people would simply assume the vase was just another part of the mess. It looks like yet another fact has come to light here. Please add this and anything else you have to reveal to your testimony. I'm sorry, but I have nothing more to add. I didn't touch anything else. Okay. This is where we present the evidence. The guitar case. You testified that you knocked the flower vase over. Is this correct? Yes. Are you sure it fell onto the guitar case? Is there a problem with what I said? It's not some problem. It's a major problem. It's true that the top of the guitar case was wet with water. However, that's exactly what is so strange. Ms. Andrews, you testified that the vase fell onto the guitar case. However, if that was true, the case should have gotten wet on the inside, not the outside. That's very true. Furthermore, there is one other strange thing about this guitar case. And what is that? I don't know what that was. Let's take another look at the crime scene photo. The remains of the vase are scattered on the floor. What's wrong with that? The guitar case was open when the vase fell. The glass shard should be inside, not outside the case. What's your point, Wright? The case was closed at the time the vase was knocked over. Is that all? No. Think back to what Miss Andrews testified to. She said that other than the vase, she didn't touch anything else. Yes, that's right. She did implicitly say she didn't touch the guitar case. This whole matter with the guitar case is a dead end. Wright guitar was found at the studio. It has no bearing on this case at all. That may very well be, however. The empty guitar case does seem to have no relation to this case, doesn't it? It seems that there is no deeper meaning to the guitar case. Well, Mr. Wright, do you think we need to hear more details about the guitar case? I gotta remember. I'm gonna save here. And I'll save over that one. Okay. I guess I'll make her testify. The empty guitar case? I believe this is a crucial piece of the puzzle. Huh. Can't believe anyone would reach for straws like this, but it is you. Can't believe I'm doing this either. That's kind of true. Alright, I'll follow along for now. Miss Andrews, please testify to the court about the guitar case. Yes, Your Honor. I don't remember too clearly because I was a bit dazed. Suppose I must have opened the guitar case after I knocked the vase over. It's not a big deal though, right? The case was empty after all. As for why I opened the guitar case, even I don't know. It looks like this really wasn't a very important point. This wastefulness is such a familiar feeling by now that it's almost comforting. Anyway, I'll just go ahead and start the cross-examination. Using any way to change the topic. Convenient escape for a weak man. What? Okay. Okay. I don't remember too clearly because I was a bit dazed. During your testimony just now, did you remember those events clearly on your mind? Well, you see, are you sure you are the one who opened the guitar case? She's waiting for someone to tell us she should answer or not. Sounds like our dependent side is taking over. Well, Miss Andrews. Yes, it was me. So you opened the guitar case then? Yes, well, maybe. Why did you open the guitar case? Huh? Mr. Corretta's dead body was right in front of you, wasn't it? I would think that the first thing you would do is call for help, not open a guitar case. As the witness has said multiple times when she found the dead body, she was dazed. Maybe I was curious to know if the bright red guitar was alright or not. Maybe the criminal took it. Why would she care about the bright red guitar? But getting back on topic. Was it really empty? I was just wondering if maybe when you opened the case, the guitar was still inside. How long have you been a lawyer, Mr. Wright? Have a little professionalism. Bright red guitar was found at the studio. These trials would be over in half the time if you would just pay attention. Yes, pay more attention, Mr. Wright. Sorry. Was that because you were shocked and dazed at discovering the victim's body? Yes, that's probably it. I'm not going to get anywhere if I continue pressing her like this. The only way to make her talk is with evidence. I guess I should give it a try. Excuse me. Come on, Phoenix. We can't afford to let up on her now. I wasn't planning on letting up, but she's at her weakest now, so this is our chance. Yeah, if we had a weapon to hit her with. I'm sure a weapon is hiding somewhere in the court record, waiting to be found. I think I present the guitar again, because I don't think there were any fingerprints on it. Yeah, it was just Coretta's fingerprints. There's no way you were the one who opened the guitar case. Why would you say that? It's elementary, my dear. Because the only fingerprints on this guitar case are those of the victim. What is it, Miss Andrews? You shouldn't assume that I must have left the prints just because I touched the case. What do you mean? What if I were to tell you I was wearing gloves at the time? gloves. But why would you be wearing gloves at the time? It was the night of the awards ceremony, so of course I dressed up for the occasion. Yes, now I remember. I'm almost sure I was wearing a pair of thin gloves. I see. Well, Mr. Wright, it seems the witness was wearing gloves at the scene of the crime. That's strange. You were wearing gloves? It's not a little strange. Why is that strange? Because you have something that would prove I was not wearing gloves at the time. Yes. It's got your fingerprints on it. I have your proof right here. This wine glass. The wine glass. You left your fingerprints very clearly on this wine glass. Even if you took your gloves off when you poured yourself this glass of juice, wouldn't you think it was just a little strange that you put your gloves back on just to open the guitar case? We got her there. Order, order, order. Looks like you hit the nail on the head this time. What do you mean? I believe that guitar case plays a very important role here. But it's just an empty case. I wonder if it really was empty, though. The guitar. The bright red guitar was at the studio. Phoenix, draw all your presumptions. What was in the guitar case was not the bright red guitar. You don't mean. It was a bright white guitar! Wait, that's not it either. I remember that. I meant it would be unnatural for someone to do that. So the witness was not wearing gloves despite the fact on the case. Your Honor, this is obviously the defense's usual misdirection tactic at work. Steer the court towards an unrelated topic and lull us into his misguided. No, Your Honor. Please, recall that Miss Andrews had testified that the vase, fell onto the guitar case. Which means that the case was closed when the crime took place. For it was wide open in this photo of the crime scene. I'm sure this guitar case has some relation to the murder. If you're so sure, Wright, then I'm sure you could somehow substantiate your outrageous claim, correct? Please enlighten us as to why the guitar case has anything at all to do with this murder. Can you do that, Mr. Wright? Well, let's suppose for a second that the bright red guitar was not the only thing that could have been in the case. The bright red guitar not being the only thing. You don't mean to suggest that a bright black guitar... So you intend to push your theory that the case was not empty, is that right? I wouldn't say something I didn't intend to prove. Deflate that head of yours, you haven't proven anything yet. Now then, let's have it. What was inside the case at the time of the murder? Yes. This is a photograph. Yes, but what's important is what is in the picture, Your Honor. In the picture. Doesn't take a genius to see what I mean. What I'm proposing is... Inside the case was a nickel samurai, the hero's very own costume. What? Mr. Wright, explain yourself. Right. Are you saying that the witness opened the guitar case to take out a costume? What insane point would there be to doing something like that? That insane point would be to wear the costume, of course. Miss Andrews put it on to hide her identity so she can make her escape. After all, you couldn't let anyone see you leave, could you, Miss Andrews? I refuse to accept your theory. Do you have anything to support such preposterous idea? Just inside the door was an investigative photographer who was starting for a big scoop. And in the end, she managed to get the shot, correct? You mean this photo? Order! Order! Looks like we wandered into quite another mess again, haven't we? Nice job, Phoenix. Well, you know my strategy. Speak first, think later. So the real murderer wasn't hiding inside a costume. Wait a second, Your Honor. The nickel samurai costume would have been Mr. Matt Onguard's. Why would something of the defendants be in the victim's room? And inside the guitar case of all places? That's true. That's a little baffling. Mr. Wright, the court would like to hear your thoughts. What's the Nickel Samurai costume doing inside the guitar case? Spare? Mr. Enguarde did not take his costume off during the break period. In that case, the costume we are talking about was a spare one. What? Then are you saying that on the night of the murder, there were 2 Nickel Samurai costumes at the Gatewater Hotel? Yes, that's what I'm saying. How do you explain the costume that was inside the guitar case? That would mean the victim himself had brought this spare to the ceremony on purpose. But why? Oh my goodness. The victim, Mr. Kurita, was the Jammin Ninja. Why would he secretly bring the Nickel Samurai spare costume with him? What could be the reason behind such a peculiar act? And therein lies the sticking point. What are you mumbling to yourself about now? Have you just been rambling all this time without any sense of inner monologue? Huh? No, I just... Mr. Wright, please explain yourself. Why do you think the victim had the Nickel Samurai spare costume? Phoenix, are you sure you can explain this one? Think carefully before you answer. And then answer with gusto, I believe in you. Alright, this is what I think. The reason the victim brought the Nickel Samurai spare costume to the hotel was... this thingy? Water break. What is this? The night of the murder, after the stage show, Nickel Samurai was going to hold a special press conference. Yes, the Nickel Samurai was supposed to commence something at this conference. I heard about this as well. For once, you're not making something up, right? What struck me as strange was that Mr. Enguarde himself said he had no idea he was supposed to be holding a press conference that night. But how can that be? The way I see it, that can only mean one thing. The conference was set up by none other than the victim, Mr. Juan Corretto himself. The victim? Yes. Spare Nickel Samurai costume that was prepared for that very conference. Mr. Carter was going to hold the press conference as the Nickel Samurai. He was going to dress up as the Nickel Samurai and hold a conference. But why would the victim do such a thing? That's something I don't quite know yet, however. What's heard with right now is what he intended to reveal at the conference. Nickel Samurai was going to confess something. In my conference, I wager he was going to reveal something about himself. Which means that Juan Corretto, posing as the Nickel Samurai, was going to speak about Mount Enguarde. Yes, I guess that is what it would mean. But if that's the case, that's not a confession. That's public disclosure. Miss Andrews, I can see why you are opposed to what you do. Pardon me? Yes, just as you say, the press conference was set up by Juan. Miss Andrews, please offer us an explanation for this. I was the one he asked to help set it up. And the person who prepared the second costume for him, that was also me. You. Juan, I bet everything on the Jammin Ninja this year. And if he lost the Grand Prix, he was going to make sure Matt was going down with him. That's what he thought anyway. He was going to ruin him, huh? It looked like somehow Juan had in his hands a secret so powerful that would destroy Matt's acting career had it been revealed. What? Do you know what the secret of Mr. Enguarde's is, Miss Andrews? That's something only Juan knew. I don't know what it is. I see. And I've probably been coming off quite suspicious to everyone. But that's to be expected. I've been trying to protect Matt after all. Protect Mr. Enguarde? And yet again, another strange bit of truth comes to light, it seems. Miss Andrews, if you could please tell us the truth about your behavior. Yes, Your Honor, I understand. Okay. From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. Matt had to kill Juan no matter what. He didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course. The button and the knife. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt I had to protect him. This does account for everything. Well, I am the logical type. Finally seeing her true self. She's more nervous than a scared rabbit. Defense can find no fault in this with this testimony. I'm ready to make a ruling. Please keep that in mind as you cross-examine Mr. Wright. Okay. Looks like somehow everything has swung to the opposite end of the scale again. That just means I have to put my weight into this and turn her logic upside down. Okay. Okay. Would you say that your intuition speaking... That was your intuition speaking to you? Don't confuse my methods of reasoning with your own. I want to prove that someone did something. You need 3 things. 3? What things? A motive, an opportunity to commit the crime, and finally decisive evidence. Think these 3 things through, the answer becomes quite clear. You should have already known that, Phoenix. They didn't teach that to us in school, at least not from what I remember. May continue now. Okay. So would you say this need came from the press conference? Yes. Do you know why Juan chose that event and that hotel for the conference? Because that's when he could cause the most damage to the public's beloved Matt Engard. And you knew of his plan, didn't you, Miss Andrews? Yes, because I was the one who set up the conference and prepared the costume. But I'm sure Mr. Engard himself didn't know anything about the press conference. Oh, really? Can you show me any proof that he didn't know about the press conference? Anyway, the important thing here is that the information was not in your testimony. Yes, I agree, Miss Andrews. Please correct your testimony, if you please. Grasping at straws now, are you, Mr. Wright? Okay. I know what his motive was, but I don't... Okay. Has Mr. Engard done something to hurt or betray you personally? Why do you ask? You were the one who helped Mr. Coretta with this press conference. That event was supposed to bring down Mr. Engard, yet you still helped out. Person on trial right now is Mr. Engard, Ray. What the witness was thinking helping the victim with his plan is none of our concern. In any case, this means that the defendant had a motive to kill. Why do I keep doing this to myself? But didn't you already testify earlier that Mr. Engard was taking a nap in his room? Now tell me now that that too was a lie, so you could cover for Mr. Engard. I'm not telling you anything of the sort. When I went to get him for the show, he honestly was sleeping. However, as to whether he was sleeping the entire time, I cannot say. I was too busy setting up for the stage at the time. I keep trying, but what I find is... But I can find no flaws with what Miss Andrews has said. Can't say the same for some people here in this courtroom, however. Judge is glaring straight at Mia. He's glaring at you, smart guy. You can hardly call the knife decisive evidence. Fingerprints on the knife could very well be a clever camouflage. Then, what about the button? The button? It's clear from the crime scene that the victim and his murderer fought. During the fight, the killer ripped the button from the Jammin' Ninja's costume. You're talking about this button, correct? That button was found in the police of Matt's Hakama, isn't that correct? Oh, I think that makes it very decisive evidence. Looks like you were outfoxed again, Mr. Wright. Anyway, life doesn't prove a thing. Please fix your testimony. Can't stand the sight of a man who can't gracefully accept his defeat. Thank goodness Mia can still look at me. With an icy stare, yes. Miss Andrews, for Mr. Wright's sake, please add this to your information to your testimony. Button was torn off during Matt. I think we present the autopsy. Yeah. This is the victim's autopsy report. Clearly states that the cause of death was strangulation by a scarf. Strangulation? The knife stabs the victim was done after the victim had already died. And what does that mean? Let's examine the evidence. This button has the victim's blood on it, which would mean that it was ripped off the costume when? After the knife was stabbed into the victim. Exactly, which means it's possible that this button was torn off during the victim's final struggle, because the victim was strangled to death in that fight. That's right, Miss Andrews. There's no way this button was ripped off during the struggle. This button was consciously pulled off the victim's already dead body. Order, order. What's the meaning of this? What's the meaning of this, right? So what if the button was torn off after the victim had already died? What does that change? Let me ask you one simple question, Mr. Edgeworth. Why was the button turned off? What purpose did that serve? What purpose? We now know that this button was not turned off during the fight, so the murderer took the time and effort to purposely rip this from the victim's body. That would mean that the murderer had something in mind, wouldn't it? Mr. Wright, does this mean that you know the murderer wanted to do with this button? What was it? Pin the crime on guard. There's only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. Ungard. There is no way anyone would put a bloodied button in their own pants. That's right. Mr. Ungard was set up by the real killer, of course. And the real murderer is... Well, Mr. Wright, who in the world is the real killer then? Finally. Can't believe I managed to bring this trial all the way up to this point. Phoenix, you can't let your guard down yet. Not until the very end. Real killer, the person who planned to frame Mr. Ungard is... We'll go ahead and... Oh, shoot. Pretend. Miss Adrian Andrews. I choose you! You're Mr. Curtis Killer. What? Order, order, order. Mr. Wright, this is a very grave matter. Do you have any evidence that supports your charge? Any evidence? A lot of evidence points to Miss Andrews. How preposterous. You can't stick any of that on me. I can't, can I? Would you care to test me? Then, what about this knife? The knife was used to stab the victim after he had already been strangled to death. It was used to throw suspicion onto Mr. Ongard, naturally. The knife covered in the defendant's fingerprints can only be taken from his room. The only one who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you. Then, what about the button that was found in Matt's hakama? This button was removed from the victim's body after he had already died. The only people who could have done so were the person who found his body or the killer. However, Mr. Ongard was the real killer. There is no way he would have put such incriminating evidence in his own hakama. The only person who could have put this button into Mr. Ongard's hakama is the person who went to wake him up from his nap, which is you, yet again, Miss Andrews. I see. What about the empty guitar case? That is also another piece of evidence that incriminates Miss Andrews. The costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the crime scene. Now, who could have known that there was just a costume inside the guitar case? It could only have been the person who prepared the costume for the victim. That person is you, Miss Adrian Andrews. No, Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere to be found on the guitar case. And if it was you who proved that she was not wearing gloves at the time. That's right. That's because she did not intend on leaving any prints. If anyone found out that she had touched the case, they would have asked her why. So to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open it. But the glass of the tomato juice is a different story. Miss Andrews purposely left her fingerprints on the glass to show that yes, indeed, she was the classic dazed discoverer of a body. And to top it all off, there's this photo. The photo of the killer as they exited the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on Earth can believe that this nickel samurai is Mr. Engard. He'd be much too short for his own costume if it was him. Speaking of how tall people are, Miss Andrews, you're also kind of short in stature. Are you not? Please stop. Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? Got her this time. Miss Andrews, I refuse to testify. What was that? There's a law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me. Well, yes. You're absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. The law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination by allowing a witness to not testify if the testimony can cause damage to themselves. What? Pleading the fifth is not something most people would think to do on the spot. Actually, thinking back to yesterday in Mr. Engard's room. Adrian Andrews. Yes. Think hard about what we just discussed. Understood? Alright. That's it. That's when Francesca planted this idea into her head. She must have told Miss Andrews not to not testify if things looked bad. Did a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. There's still one thing you haven't done. Something I haven't done. What's wrong, Wright? Are you finished already? Run out of evidence. What is so humorous, Mr. Edgeworth? I'm sure you realize this as well, Your Honor. But everything the good lawyer here has proven up to this point is meaningless. What? Everything you have proven is circumstantial. Circumstantial? Yes, circumstantial. You have yet to provide a single piece of definitive proof. Prove that Miss Andrews did in fact harbor to wish Mr. Coretta. Miss Andrews, did you want to kill Mr. Coretta? I believe this may lead to me incriminating myself, so I will abstain from answering. Miss Andrews, if you could do that, it would be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think? Maybe so or maybe not. There is nothing to prove it either way. Besides, you don't even know what crime I would be guilty of due to my silence. No, she's taking a definitive attitude again. Mia, what should we do? Somehow, we landed in the worst possible situation. I think we have reached a certain conclusion at this point in time. Miss Adriana Andrews has refused to testify. And the defense's theory that she is the actual murderer has not been fully substantiated with solid definitive proof. But that's not true. In this situation, there's only one thing the court can do, and that is to declare a recess. Recess? Request that both the prosecution and the defense look further into this matter. And at tomorrow's trial. Tomorrow? We don't have a tomorrow. You don't get a not guilty verdict today, then. Please wait, Your Honor. That is not necessary. The trial. Please continue the trial. What are you sweating for? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he? That's not it. This isn't about that. Edgeworth, I know you know who the real killer is. Please, let the trial continue. Don't get the verdict, then Maya. But is it possible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify? Now then, this court is... It is not impossible for this trial to continue. Mr. Edgeworth, what are you... It's true Miss Andrews holds the right against self-incrimination, however. The topic of conversation was something unrelated to whatever she may be guilty of, and she has no right to withhold testimony. Yes, that is very true, but... Actually, there's one little thing I'm curious about. Miss Andrews. When you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice. Yes, and... Can't help but think how unnatural that is. Usually when one finds a body, they're shaken up, not stirring a glass of juice. So my actions were unusual, but I've already... Before you speak, I want to state that if you have reason behind your actions, I'd like you to testify to that effect. Testify? Your Honor, I'd like to request that the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever we find out in this testimony should be in no way implicate the witness. I don't know what it is about Edgeworth today, but I can't get a good read off of him. Is he a friend or foe? Just don't know. Court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrews, if you please.
I don't really remember what happens here.
Glass of juice. Didn't really pour it for myself. Surprised when I walked into the room and I saw it in a messy state. And Juan, he was sitting slumped over and tired looking in the corner. I thought that he was dead didn't cross my mind. Honestly? Oh, to be honest, I thought he had just fainted or something, so I went to pour him some juice. When I realized that he was dead, that's when I knocked the flower vase over. So you poured that glass of juice for the victim. Why didn't you say so in your earlier testimony? I didn't think I needed to include something so trivial. Phoenix, please be careful here. Can't find anything wrong with this testimony, then there's nothing left. I know. Edgeworth, what the heck is going on in that brain of yours? Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. Surprised when I walked in the room, it's all in that messy state. Okay. Slumped over. Yes, he was just sitting there with his head tilted forward, eyes closed. He really looks like he was sleeping. Is it just me, or did that right there sound a little odd? Then, what did cross your mind? Thought that maybe he had smashed everything up in anger because he lost the Grand Prince. And then felt really tired after his rampage, so decided to take a nap. Anyways, that's what I thought. I see, so you didn't think he was dead at all. You thought he fainted. I thought he was asleep at first. But then, the room was in such a messy state. I thought that maybe he had gotten into a fight with someone. That's when he went to pour the glass of juice. Yes, he always had a hard time waking up. So Juan was always had a glass of tomato juice to drink. What happened next? I don't remember which one. I think this one? I'm gonna save just in case. For this. Yeah. Present. Is it the picture or the knife? Okay. That wasn't right. Sorry. Percent. I'm gonna try the picture. If not, is this? Yes. Okay. Didn't know, couldn't remember which one it was. So you honestly didn't think he was dead when you found him? No, not at all. Even though this is what you saw when you discovered the body. What is the meaning of this? Isn't it obvious, Your Honor? There's a knife sticking straight out of Mr. Corrida's chest. Anyone who saw this scene would have merely thought that here was a dead man. Well, you see, not a single person in this world would mistake this for someone who fainted, and then so nonchalantly go pour something to drink. Your point is, Miss Andrews, your testimony just now, it was all one giant lie. And your lie has proven one thing very clearly, that you are the real killer. No! It looks like the defense has somehow brought the ugly truth to light. The defendant, Mr. Matt Ungard, is not guilty after all. But that's impossible. You're wrong. Miss Andrews, try to have some composure. It wasn't me. It wasn't me, I tell you. It was Matt, I swear it. He was the one who killed Juan. But you were the one who refused to testify, and your reason for not doing that was so that you might end up incriminating yourself. That's because... Miss Andrews, I will give you one last chance. What exactly are you hiding that may incriminate you? I refuse to testify. Then there is no reason for this court to continue any further. Mr. Matt Ungard's innocence has been clearly demonstrated. Is it over? Have we found the truth at last? What's wrong, Phoenix? Usually the real killer confesses his or her guilt. And now that I think about it, this is the first time someone hasn't. Now then, I would like to hand down my verdict for Mr. Matt Ungard. Your Honor, the prosecution feels that it would be premature to pass down a verdict at this time. What? The reason is quite simple. This witness has yet to speak the absolute real truth. The absolute real truth. What are you? Witness, do you understand yet? Huh? I don't know who planted this silly idea in your head. But as long as you protect yourself through your silence, Matt Ungard will go free, and in his place, you will become the guilty party. That's a lie. I don't believe you. What? I was told if I spoke, then it would all be over, and Matt would never be declared guilty. What in the world is she talking about? Has she lost it? Can't speak about it. I'm too scared. It's Francisca von Karma. Huh. You don't remember, Phoenix. Miss Andrews lives by gripping tightly onto the words of another, because she doesn't have the strength to believe in herself. Then, right now, Miss Andrews is. Yesterday, she was tossed a lifesaver by Miss von Karma. Don't say a word, no matter what happens. If you do, Matt Ungard will be acquitted. Miss Andrews undyingly believes in those words right now, and is clinging onto them. And what should we do? This is the first time I ever come across anything like this. Miss Andrews has to be the killer, right? All we have to do now is get her not guilty. That's my only priority. It wasn't me. I'm begging you. Please believe me. I didn't kill Juan. Help, please. Someone help me. Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. Court can't continue on like this, therefore I would like to hear what you intend to do. I intend to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? Right, I suggest you think carefully about this. Think about what this witness did and what she did not do. And think about who is the real mastermind behind this crime. The real mastermind? Isn't that obvious? Someone else it could be except the woman crying right over there, right? Come now. What will you do? What kind of man are you, Mr. Phoenix Wright? We forced her to testify. I have to win a complete article today. There's no way around that. But this, not when she's making a face like that. Miss Andrews, I would like to know what you're really hiding. Mr. Wright, are you sure you know what you're doing? Sure, Mr. Ungard would get an article, but in his place, you would be found guilty. Is this how you really want this trial to end? Be quiet. How dare you? You're trying to trick me. That's enough. Commend you for trying, Mr. Edgeworth. However, it's clear that the defense's theory is truth. You're wrong. What a shame. I'd hoped things wouldn't come to this. However, what is it, Mr. Edgeworth? Miss Andrews, since you absolutely refuse to testify, it falls on my shoulders to disclose this to the court. Stop. Mr. Edgeworth! This witness, how should I put this? She has an illness. What? And because of this illness, she has tried to commit suicide in the past. Stop. Please stop. No matter how much you want to hide it, it's no use. I have the evidence right here. That's the second part of the suicide report. The attempted suicide report. That's strange. And what will you do now, witness? You know what I'm about to do, don't you? Now revealed to this court the true nature of the pitiful woman known as Adrienne Andrews. Secret of her dependent nature. Having other people know about it scares her more than anything else in the world. Please stop. I beg of you. If people find out, I'll... If you're going to say you would choose death, that is no concern to me. Edgeworth, how can you be so cold? However, before you die, I'll pull the truth from your still breathing lips, no matter what I have to do. So, will you tell the court yourself, or shall I? Either is fine with me. I'll talk, but please, help me. Nothing matters anymore. Dang, she looks so sad. When I first saw him, I really thought he had fainted, honest. When I realized he was dead, that was when I formulated my plan. Once I made sure there was no one in the hallway, I made a dash back to Matt's room. And then I stabbed one's dead body with a knife and ripped off the button. Just when I finished and was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience. And that's why I ended up using the Nickel Samurai costume. Stab the body with a knife. But why would you do that? Isn't it obvious? To pin the blame on a certain person. A certain cowardly man. What do you mean by all of this? It might take this court a little while to understand, but this is the truth. The real killer is Matt. A scumbag of a man. I'll never forgive him. He's trying to escape his guilt again, just like last time. Last time? So Miss Andrews stabbed the victim, Juan Coretta, in the chest with the knife. However, she did not do it with murder in mind. She did it with the intent of framing Matt Ungard for the murder. And this is her crime. What? How's that possible? I mean, wasn't Miss Andrews supposed to be the real murderer? Mr. Wright, please get over your shocked comment and commence the cross-examination.
Yep.
When I first saw him, I really thought he had fainted, honest. When I realized he was dead, that's when I formulated— oh wait. I don't remember what we do here. What was this plan you had? I knew right away the murderer was Matt. I knew because Juan, he was going to expose Matt's weakest point in the world. So Matt did this to stop Juan and silence him for good. That's when I thought I should forge some evidence and pin this crime on Matt. So the forged pieces of the evidence were the knife and the button. First thing that came to mind was to plant the knife. So that you could get— that was so you could get the knife, correct? The knife Matt used at dinner had his fingerprints all over it. I thought if I used that, then the police would certainly turn their eyes towards him. Matt was napping with his costume on the time. I slipped in, took the knife, returned to the scene of the crime. And then I stabbed Juan's dead body with the knife and ripped off the button. Oh wait. So you were the one to stab the victim with the knife. It gives me goosebumps to think about it now. What a horrible thing I did. But at the time, I couldn't control my own body. It had moved on its own. When I stabbed Juan's dead body, I suddenly realized something. If I use the button somehow, I can make Matt look even more suspect. So you thought to rip one of the buttons off and then plant it in Mr. Engarde's hakama. Yes, that's what I had to plan to do. I never got through it. Do I? An inconvenience. There was a woman with the camera at the ready, loitering in the hallway. I'm willing to bet my specs that was Lotta. There was also a woman with a ray gun at the ready, pacing back and forth. That's missile back for you. I had already been caught and made it into a big scoop for a certain weekly tabloid once, so I couldn't very well go out looking like myself and get caught again. You were the one who prepared that costume, weren't you? Yes, I took it from the Global Studios. I also put it into Juan's guitar case the day before this award ceremony. You did this in preparation for the press conference, correct? Yes, Juan wanted to wear that costume and hold a press conference in it. He's going to disclose Matt's big secret there. And what is the secret? That, I don't know. Anyway, I thought that if I were to leave Juan's room in the Nickel Samurai costume, then people would think that Matt was the real murderer. I was very careful not to leave any fingerprints when I opened the guitar case. I really did not want anyone to know about the costume. I don't want to concede, but this testimony rings of the truth. Sorry, Phoenix. No, please don't apologize to me. We were both taken by a surprise. Still, I'm sorry. But you could tell from the state the room was in that there must have been a fight. Are you telling the truth when you say you did not know he was dead? He had a scarf tied around his neck. That scarf was part of the Jammin' Ninja's costume, so I didn't think anything was strange about it. His head was also tilted down a bit, so I couldn't see his face that well. That's why I thought I'd wake him up and went to pour the juice. I think we've heard enough. So after that, you went back to Mr. Engarde's room and planted the button. To Matt's hakama, yes. After that, I folded up the costume I was wearing and put it into the bag. Then, I snuck it out of the hotel and got rid of it. My word. What does all this mean? Mr. Edgeworth, is it? Real criminal is Matt Engarde. Yesterday, that woman prosecutor sat me down for a talk. Francesca, huh? She said that I should under no circumstances confess to what I had done. That if I kept quiet, then Matt would be found guilty for sure. I had no choice but to believe in her words. What this witness has done is clearly unlawful. However, as long as her testimony stands, we can be certain she is not the real killer. Wait, Your Honor. Defense is still... Right. It's pointless. At this point in time, it is not possible to indict Miss Andrews on anything. Yes, exactly. There isn't a single piece of evidence that points to her as the murderer. The cross-examination of the witness is over, and so is today's trial. Couldn't establish that the witness was the culprit. Please let it go, Mr. Wright. But... Mr. Edgeworth, please place Miss Andrews under arrest for further questioning. Understood, Your Honor. The prosecution will arrange for her detention immediately. That is all. Court is adjourned for the day. Dang, bruh. Today's trial. It's over. And I didn't win an article. Witness, would you mind if I ask you something? Edgeworth. What is it? Before you leave court today, I wonder if I might look at that one thing. The card in your hand. Had my interest for quite some time now. What exactly is it? Oh, this? Mr. Wright also asked about it. Although I didn't remember at the time you asked me about it, Mr. Wright. I remember just now. I found this in the room on the day. In the room? That day. Yes. I found this card when I discovered Juan's body. It was lying there, right next to him. You found that card next to the victim's body. Suppose I must have unconsciously slipped it into my pocket. But it's not as if this card had any relevance to Juan's murder, right? Yeah, I guess not. But it's still a strange card, if you ask me. But as far as a clue to this case, I don't see why... Witness, that card. Give it to me. Hurry. Edgeworth. Do you have any idea what you have stupidly yet inadvertently done? This. I can't believe you hid this from me all this time. I didn't mean to. What is this all about? Never seen Edgeworth so emotional before. That card. What in the world is it? What does it mean?
And next, well, we're gonna find out next time, I guess. Yep. So that's about where I played. Very interesting. I'll go to save that. Thus far. So we still don't know who the murderer is, essentially. There's, I guess, maybe a whole other person or party or whatever that we haven't discovered yet. And I'm very curious about what the card is. Like, what I mean. I don't even know. But that will be it for now. So next time, I guess we'll have an investigation. We'll see where that goes. And see what happens with Maya and everything. How that's going to work out. Because we didn't get a guilty verdict or anything. So we'll find out. But that'll be it for now. So hopefully I'll see you next time. Goodbye.